He goes, why would I was yelling a bear, bear. It was right behind you. And I said, well, we heard beer. He goes, why would I want to drink beer at 10:30 in the morning? And we said, well, that's what we were saying.
Welcome to the KnifeWife podcast. I'm Suz, married to Bob Terzuola. This podcast is about couples who live, love, and work together. And has little to do with knives. Hey everybody, it's Suz. Welcome to the KnifeWife podcast. I'm here with this guy that I've been with for a few years.
That's Bob. Hi.
Bob Terzuola, yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Anyway, they still let us show up. We can't do a TikTok dance, so this is why we have a podcast. And I'd like to work on one, though. And but I hope everybody gets a break from toxic media, because that was my whole mission in starting this whole puppy, was to give us a break from all the political nonsense, which is really amping up. Now that November's looming, I don't want to hear about it. And as I always say when I start this, nobody's more surprised than I am that I have a podcast. And people seem to be listening. That's blowing my mind. They write us letters. They write me notes. They write me nasty things sometimes. They think I'm a little bit, much for a gal my age. But too bad. Anyway, and we got a question from Gary C. in Long Island. He asked two questions, but this is the second one. Do you miss New Mexico? Bob, do you miss New Mexico?
I do. There are certain things I miss about New Mexico, mainly our friends. We have some really good friends in New Mexico, and we're going to be talking to a couple of them just in a few minutes here. And the other thing I miss about New Mexico is the horizon. We don't have a horizon here except when you go down to the beach, and then it looks pretty plain. It's only the ocean. But in New Mexico, you could see for 100 miles. You could see the rain coming and the most beautiful, wonderful daily sunsets. Absolutely gorgeous sunsets. And those are some things I miss about New Mexico.
Anyway, so, I miss the people the most. I haven't met people quite like that here yet, but maybe I won't. And we go back, I hope, at least once a year. I have family there now, so lots of family, which you guys don't know. Anyway, so I want to introduce our guests today, who are Claudia and Steve. And I have known Claudia since I worked in the movies with her on a little TV show about a girl and a horse. Anyway, say hello.
Hi. That was
Hello.
a long time ago.
Hi, Claudia.
That was.
Hi,
We were young and hot, weren't we?
Still hot.
Can't remember.
Oh, they still are. They still are. And Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hello, Bob. Hello, Sue.
Right. They have a company called Rangewood Reclaimers, and we'll get into that in a minute. When I met Claudia, she and I have a thing about skulls and skeletons and black. And I joked with her at the end of shooting one of the day. I'd say, "What are you wearing tomorrow?" And she'd say, "Black, black." It's easy. And anyway, so I'd known her for quite a while, and she was just starting to date Steve, and I invited them to our Day of the Dead party after the parade that we did.
That's right.
And so I invited a bunch of people over to celebrate this project that we had done with the skeleton, which I dragged her, which we've had a podcast about Sam around the world. In fact, one of Sam's sisters lives with Claudia and Steve, right?
Right.
She guards the showroom and changes her wardrobe seasonally.
Yes, I like that. And
She's back to school now.
oh,
Yep.
she's back to school?
Yes.
She's sitting at an old antique 1940s school desk.
School desk with her little plaid skirt and her pencil and her lunchbox.
Any knee socks or anything?
No, a little pair of loafers though.
Skirt.
Okay.
And a headband.
Yeah.
And a headband.
With
Okay.
a black wig and a cardigan sweater.
Oh, I love it. I wish you would send me a picture and I'll put it on the fan page.
I'll do it.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so we're having this party, and it was the first time that we met Steve, and Bob is incredibly protective of Claudia. But I'm going to let Steve, because they went out into the shop. Bob frequently says to people, "Would you like to see the shop?" And like a sheep led to slaughter, Steve said, "Sure, love to." And when he came in from the shop, I'll explain that later. But when he came in from the shop, he was not the same guy that went out to the shop.
No.
So, Steve, what happened?
Well, I went through the shop. I was amazed at what Bob's able to make and the craftsmanship and the detail that goes into everything that Bob makes. Very impressed. What was it? A 38 millimeter grenade launcher that hangs above the door.
Yeah,
it was.
That was
yes.
the first thing I noticed.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
When we came back from the shop, I remember the girls were still conveniently gone. And Bob and I were standing in the kitchen, and he asked me my intentions with their family friend. And I assured him that my intentions were completely respectable. And he leaned across the counter and said, "That's good, because I don't take out houses, I take out zip codes."
yeah.
Yep.
And I sort of saw Steve's face at that point. I don't know where we were, Claudia, but I walked in and I went, And I think you said to Claudia, he just threatened me, which Bob can be very threatening sometimes.
He was.
You guys are just taking care of me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know you at that time, Steve. Things have changed.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope I've done a good job, and we're celebrating our 11th year
Oh, my gosh.
on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
I've never met such an incredible woman, and I can't imagine have taken anyone else on the adventures that we've had with these three businesses. And she's been supportive, amazing, willingness to learn, adapt, adjust. She's just, I'm glad I got her and nobody else did. And I'm not willing to let her go. So,
well, now you know why we were so protective of her.
Yeah.
I completely understand.
Well, and the one thing about Claudia and I, we worked in the movies together on that little show. When you work in the movies, you get used to adapting to things. We change locations all the time. They change what shot they're going to do. They change what scene they're going to shoot next. So she's pretty good at rolling with the punches. And years ago, she even worked with the WWE.
Yeah.
Yeah, the WWE, which those stories are another podcast themselves.
Yeah. That was a great, you know what? That was a great time. It was. Those are awesome people.
Yeah.
Awesome people.
Yeah. I never knew anything about them until I met Claudia. But anyway, so I don't know how this, I remember Steve having some warehouses, and I remember him buying some estates and whatever. And then one day I look on Facebook, and he's taking down a barn. And it was sort of a time lapse video. And so, they went from this old, beautiful, old falling down barn to just the framework. And then Steve's standing on top of it. I'm like, what the are they doing? And then Rangewood Reclaimers, I believe, was born. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you do and how Claudia seems to just hold her breath or something while you're up on these barns.
But try not to think about it. They're very, the guys are so safe and very careful. It's just none of the barns are, like Steve said, we're not taking down good barns. They're not in great shape.
Yeah, no one's ever called us on a good barn to take down. So everything's pretty much, by the time we get there, they're either a danger to human or livestock. We're the only company in the United States that knows how to to drop a barn in its own footprint without the use of explosives or anything. So we've really, throughout the years, have developed a process that has worked continuously for us. We've developed and designed our own equipment. Unfortunately, there's not enough people out there doing it for obvious reasons. It's not easy, and it's very dangerous. But the rewards we get from preserving the history and the culture of New Mexico and other states, because we do most of the western states, is it usually trumps anything else. We've not had one incident since the conception of the company knock on wood. And we've got policies and procedures that we follow in the field. The company Rangewood Reclaimers is set up to be in the field for up to a month remotely with no support. So
Wow.
we're very unusual the way we've set the company up, the way we adapt and adjust to the weather. We've been out in weather that was blowing 75 miles an hour winds with blowing snow and minus 15 degrees
That
weather.
sounds like good filming weather, right, Claudia?
Yeah, that's about what we're used. Yeah, yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
And New Mexico, the wind.
The wind. Oh, the wind. Yes. Well, you do something nobody else does. It's fascinating to watch. They have a Facebook group, right? You have a Facebook group, am I correct?
Group, yeah, and the Instagram
And Instagram?
Yep.
Rangewood Reclaimers anyway. And so you can watch some of these things happen. And I can't tell you how many times I've watched videos over and over again. You'd think I have more to do. But I do love to watch you, Steve, and your crew do this. So
Thank you. We always tell the crews, your job could be anything, prepare for everything.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so you guys are preserving the history of being out on the plains by just keeping the wood. You take down the barns, but you're saving the wood, and you pass it on to other people. You sell it to architects or interior designers. Or what do you do with that wood afterwards?
All of the above. And it's, for example, the one barn, I think that's the one that you watched, was the barn that Smokey Bear was raised in.
Oh,
And there was
yeah.
so much history just with the owners of the ranch. He and his wife are both prolific cowboy authors, and they're in the Hall of Fame. And his brother was the game and fish, and had gotten the phone call on that bear cub that was burnt. Said to fly him to Santa Fe. They took him up to the ranch, and he stayed there. They had placement for him on the outside of the barn, and the panels progressively got bigger as he got bigger.
Yeah.
And those we'd sold to a furniture manufacturer that made a beautiful bedroom set out of them. But when he got too big, then they flew him to the Washington Zoo, and that's where they kept him. But the barn itself was just fabulous. The gentleman wanted a more contemporary, he grafted heirloom apples, so he wanted a low-profile building put in. So that's why we took the barn down. Well, there was a horrible fire up there 2 summers ago, and kept trying to watch it, and it's always some of the maps, it's hard to see. But we drove up there about 6-8 months after that, up through this canyon, and the fire would have taken it. The trees that it was tied off to give it stability while the guys were taking it down were gone.
Wow.
So it's like all that history would have been gone. And we've had people from Washington State, they're big Smokey Bear fans, to a gentleman that was building a house up in Santa Fe, and his family had churches and relations. His aunt was with the Park Service too, so she was part of the program creating Smokey Bear. And all of that, we just did a big thing for the biopark, the zoo here. So all of the Asian exhibit, the elephant area is all covered in that barn.
Snow leopard, we did all the...
And so that history is passed on, and it is saved.
And that's the heart of your business, actually, right?
Yes.
Let me say something here. Smokey the Bear is my age. We were born the same year.
Right.
And he was a cub. I read up on this, believe it or not. And when the park rangers found him, he had burned his paws in the forest fire that killed his mother. And they named him, the original name of Smokey the Bear, Nickel, to anybody who knows. Aha.
I
The
should know
original
that.
name was,
offered more.
they called him Hotfoot Harry. That's what the Rangers called him. And then later on, he became the symbol for only you can prevent forest fires.
Which was one of the most successful programs
Yeah.
Yes.
that they have ever put together.
Yes, they were. Yeah.
And as you progressed with your business, you actually sort of bought a ranch or bought a piece of property just outside of Albuquerque because you needed a place to put all this stuff, right?
Yeah, and that's where the warehouse was, and the owners generously approached us and asked if we wanted, because we had leased it, if we wanted to buy it. So the property is just under 4 acres, and it's 3 levels. And Steve and the crew got out. It was 26 40-foot dumpsters to clean the property. But as we did that, it developed into the ranch. And we've had a wedding, we've had a celebration of life. We just had an event a couple weekends ago for UNM for families that have medically fragile children. So we built some ramps on the stage and adult changing tables, and we had about 200 people with the families.
Yeah, we did face painting, bubble guns.
Yep.
We built a custom rocking chair that was raffled off, and we didn't know it, but at the end of the raffle, the winning ticket, the family that had won the custom rocking chair that the company built actually walked over to another gentleman, another family, and said, "Your child needs this more than ours," and they gave another family the winning ticket.
Fabulous.
That's so nice.
But it was such a rewarding, you know, we had all the
Sure.
little kids, Bernalillo County, the sheriffs, we had probably 7 or 8 of the sheriffs in their cars, and they pulled the cars up and they were helping the little kids out of the wheelchairs into the cars so they could turn the sirens and all the horns and the lights on. And
Right.
we recently bought a horse and we brought him up here, and it's
I know you did. That's
I know.
really made me happy when I saw that, because you're a dinner plate belt buckle kind of gal.
long time, it was a
Yep,
long time ago.
yep.
We're all hat, no cattle.
Yeah, we have a horse now, and he was so good. It's interesting to see animals and how they interact with the kids. But he was so good. He put his head way down so the little kids in the wheelchairs could pet him, and it was fun. So that's what the ranch has turned out to be.
Right. And you have a windmill that I remember you putting together. Those windmills were made actually near where I grew up, but we have one in the back of our house that our neighbors have. I don't know why they have it, but you decorate yours and used to put flags up for 4th of July, Memorial Day. I've seen Christmas lights, and it's how tall is that windmill?
40, we removed 5 feet. No, it's close to 50 feet.
Close to 50 feet. She's over 100 years old. Her name is Mariah. We actually put it out there for everybody to kind of pick a name. And so we named her Mariah. And you know what? She's beautiful. It was, she was on a ranch way out in kind of in the Gila. And we went out there and a well company met us and took the head off. And then we cut the legs and laid her down. Brought the head back, and about a month later, we went out and got the base.
No, it was 4 months later we went and got the base. Yep.
Brought the base. We had to replace some of the wood with ours that matched it. And so we had the well company back out. They lifted it up, put the head on it. We're standing down there, you know, and the free windmill is not so free. But by the time you get well companies and go all the way out there to get it. But anyway. So little Jimmy's up on the top, and they set the head on there, and he gets it started, and he looks down, he says, "Can you hear that?" And we're like,
after all this, something's
like,
wrong.
What? I'm like, no. He says, "I know." He says, "It's great." She says, "You can't hear a thing."
He said out of hundreds of windmills that I have erected or taken down, not one doesn't make a noise except for yours isn't making any noise. I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I've never had one before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just had a customer call and ask to buy it. We're like, well, no, it doesn't move.
No, because we put her on a big concrete platform. One of our neighbors made big steel boots for each one of the legs.
And then they're
welded in.
Yeah.
No, she's not going anywhere.
Okay, Mariah. And you also have found some things that I really envy. I have tractor envy. You guys bought some tractors.
Grade-ready tractors. Yeah, we have a 1940 Farmall with a blade offset. We have a 1941 Oliver, and we have a wheel horse, 1960 wheel horse that won the state fair last year.
I know.
Little riding lawnmower.
Our guests can't see what's behind you, but I see the ribbons, and I love a big rosette ribbon.
Yep.
So did a lot of county fairs, did a lot of state fairs in my day. So Steve does most of the part of the business of, you know, taking down these barns, and Claudia keeps the home fires burning basically while he's out there with his crew. And I think there's a story that you mentioned to us about bats.
Sorry, yes. We were taking down an old saloon in Tucumcari. Actually, it was the farm had taken the saloon from town, and he took his original homestead and they cut it in half and they put it together and they gave it as a wedding gift
To his daughter.
Yeah. So
Well,
then
every bridal registry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we were going through the process of skirting the inside of the building. I was working around the doors. I pulled the door frame away, and it looked like a mouse in between the 2x4s. So I didn't have my glasses on, so I called one of my crew over, and I said, "Is this a dead mouse?" And all of a sudden, he backed up, went running in the other direction, screaming, "Bat, bat!" It flew out from the door jamb and started chasing all of us. But unfortunately, I had my wife on the phone on my Bluetooth. So she was hearing everything that was going on, and all the guys were screaming, and the bat, I swear, it like purposely dive bombed every one of us. There were guys running outdoors, jumping out windows, screaming at the top of their lungs. And by the time we got the bat out of the house, I realized Claudia was still on the phone. And she was like, "What the heck is going on?" I said, "Well, there was this bat came out of a door jam, was chasing all of us." And she goes, "You guys were screaming like little girls." And I said, "Well, the thing was like 2 feet tall and a foot wide, had fangs the size of a tiger muskie."
I'm a fisherman, so I know those stories.
Yes. It was a fish story. Claudia, when you were listening, like, what could you hear?
Just a bunch of girls screaming.
Yeah.
Way to go. Way to go. I love that story. Okay, well, I do have a friend who does not like bats either in Germany. And one time she was staying with us and we had these rubber Halloween bats. And so she went to empty the dishwasher, being a nice person. And I had put them in the top rack of the dishwasher. And I could hear her screaming from my bedroom upstairs.
That's a Sue move.
Yeah, it's a Susie move. Yeah. And anyway, and then you have another story, I think, about a bear. And it isn't Smokey this time.
No, we were taking down an old Mormon cabin up in Greer, Arizona, that we had numbered, and then it was videoed, and it was set up to be reconstructed.
Wow.
So we spent a week up there taking it down, numbering it, taking it down, documenting it, and the gentleman who owns this what would you call it, this property,
Yeah.
he opens it up for RVs and fifth wheels. So he wanted the Mormon cabin taken down because he could get more pads for fifth wheels in there, and it's less maintenance for him. Well, his cabin is about 400 yards across from where we were camped. And the night before, we always, when we go on a ranch, we always have a taco night. Usually falls either Tuesdays or Wednesdays. And we have a big community kitchen and we set it up. And the guys will break away from the job and we make a big spread of tacos. And what we do is we invite the owners and the ranch hands and the surrounding ranches to the taco night. And the reason we do that is so they can share stories with us about what kind of history, what kind of events took place in these barns that we're removing. And so we found throughout the years that it's not just the wood, but it's that has the importance of being reclaimed, repurposed, recycled. But it's the stories, the importance of these stories that can be retold, and they don't die with the barns.
Yeah.
And so we had a taco night, and this gentleman's name was Fred. He was 83. And he was sitting there at taco night, and my foreman kind of bumped me, and he held up 13 fingers and pointed at Fred. And Fred literally had one taco in each hand. And I looked at Fred and I said, "Fred, are you trying to set a record here?" And in terms of eating tacos? And he looked up and he said, without even hesitation, he said, "God made tacos. Everything else is dessert." So the next morning, we were breaking down the camp, and everything was getting folded and put away in the trailers. And we could see Fred about 400 yards away jumping up and down, and he was waving his cane, and he was yelling at the top of his lungs.
Does he have any tacos in his hand?
Well, we thought he was. One of the foremen said, like, maybe he has heartburn. And I said, well, what's going on? And what's he saying? He said, well, he sounds like beer. So I looked at my watch, and I said, why does he want to drink beer at 10:30 in the morning with us? He goes, I don't know. You know, he may have heartburn. He may have something else going on. We're not sure. But he kept jumping up and down and screaming, you know, beer, beer, beer. And so we just kind of ignored him and kept folding and up our tents and getting our gear loaded. What we didn't know, there was a black bear standing 10 feet behind us on his hind legs. The bear dropped down and ran around another building, and then about a minute later, he popped out in front of us, and we all panicked and started screaming bear. And there was a playground between us for the resort. They had a playground for kids. So all the employees ran out. We grabbed kids, and we had kids in each arm, and we were kicking on trailers saying, is this your child? There's a bear in the area. And people would just open the door, grab their kid, and slam the door in our faces. So we have a bear gun that makes loud noise, and we hazed the bear off because we didn't want to see anything happen to it. And so when the drama and everything kind of settled down, Fred walked over to us and he said, well, didn't you hear me yelling at you guys? What the heck's wrong with you? And I said, well, we heard you yelling, but he said, what do you think I was saying? I go, well, it sounded like beer. He goes, I was yelling a bear, bear. It was right behind you. And I said, well, we heard beer. He goes, why would I want to drink beer at 10:30 in the morning? And we said, well, that's what we were thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, we could write a book on the story.
It's just,
Great.
you know what, and that's kind of what is so great about what we do is, you know, that Fred, he's not with us anymore, but just the stories and the people we meet, and it's heartwarming. We have them come in, we'll have contractors come into the warehouse, and they'll start walking with the wood, and sometimes you'll just see tears in their eyes.
Yeah, they start crying.
It's my dad used to work with wood, my grandpa used to work with wood, and it invokes something in people. And
it does. You know, we have bought a cutting board from you guys.
Yes.
That we use every day. And it just is in our kitchen all the time. And when we first got it, you know, I thought, oh, what is this? It's sort of a combination of woods put together. And I thought, oh, I wonder what this is from. And I wonder what this is from. And I was thinking as you guys were talking, you guys should write a book with a chapter for, you know, not every, but a lot of the stories of taking down these places and where the wood goes to. I think it might be an interesting tale to tell, actually.
We've been approached on it. It's just, you know, with three businesses, it's, as you know, it's just, it's always go, go, go. You know, feel like you're in the fast lane. And Claudia and I, you know, working together, we talked about it. You know, it's like driving down the freeway. You've got to stay in your own lane to make sure that you don't clip each other or have an accident. So I always felt, and we came to this conclusion a long time ago as we started the business, that this is my area of expertise, this is your area of expertise, and we just need to pick a lane to stay in. And ever since we had that conversation, I think it's worked out really well. I'm an operational type of person. I'm a very detail-oriented type of person. So systematically taking down barns comes naturally to me. Making sure the ranch has minimal liability, that's just natural to me. But when it comes to selling, Claudia can outpace and outsell me any day of the week. And the customers absolutely adore her.
Yep, I can see that. And also you've taken a house that was, I don't know, a little New Mexico ranch house and turned it into a showroom and a meeting place and a shop where you sell things, and Sam's sister lives. And so you're in charge of all that, because Claudia could take a barn and turn it into a showroom because she has that gift, making things pretty.
She does.
She does.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you do. Anyway, well, those are great stories, guys. I really appreciate you being with us. Do you have any questions for them, Bob?
No, I think I'm really pleased that they're taking so much of that history and keeping it and saving it. And I agree with you that they should put this into a book or something, or make a movie, or people should know about what you're doing, because it's really preserving a history that is fast disappearing.
Yes.
The Wild West, the Old West. And you sent me a piece of wood. You sent me a chunk of wood. I think it was from 1910.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
The year he was born.
It was
Yeah,
from Southern Australia.
I wasn't born, a little bit younger than that.
No, I tease him about being
But,
old, because
yeah.
he's going to be an octogenarian this fall.
Oh,
Whoa.
We don't need to celebrate that.
Okay, no, we'll
But
just
anyway,
be in Italy with all our
gonna be
friends and family.
I'm going to be using some of that wood. It's really a nice, very dense wood. I'll be using some of that on knife handles.
He's hoping to get a knife out of it, Bob.
I can't wait to see it.
It's called Carry wood, Karri. It's from Southern Australia.
Right, yeah.
And you can't get it. It's a protected wood. This is third, fourth generational.
Yeah.
It's been passed down. And we were, fortunate enough to be able to broker it. We were actually, if you have a minute, I was reviewing with a new employee, how he feels about the company and are we meeting his needs? And we were in the conference room and he looked past me and he said, "Do we have ninjas on the property?" And
Yes,
I
many.
turned and I turned around and there was a vehicle and there was several gentlemen with long black robes in their hands in their sleeves standing there. And I thought, I've done enough things to my friends. Maybe they're trying to punk me this time.
Mm-hmm.
I walked out and introduced myself and I said, "Welcome to Rangewood Ranch. How can I help you?" And they were the monks from the monastery in Silver City.
Yep.
So their monastery sits at about 9,000 feet.
Mm.
And they were here because they heard about the density of the Carri wood.
Oh.
And it was funny because I said, "Well, would you guys like to come in and get a cup of coffee?" And they all started laughing. And I said, "Well, I can understand if I offered you tequila, but what's wrong with coffee?" And they said, "Well, we manufacture coffee at the monastery."
That's what they're known for.
And I said, "Well, I thought you guys did beer." And they said, "No, that's the friars. We're the monks."
Mm. Yeah, you got to get these things straight. There's a whole
I had-
hierarchy of food in the
Oh, yeah.
Catholic Church.
They thought you said bear.
Yeah, that was said beer, not beer.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sent me down the right path. I got a really good education. They bought several beams of carry wood from us, and they have a full wood shop up at the monastery. It was very interesting. But we just never know who is going to come in and appreciate the fact that we have the history and the culture that we're preserving. And the ranch has so much history, and we just have such a positive vibe here. We love having people come in and explore it. And the word that we hear most is magical.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. It's you have so many things going on there, so many components. They all are different, yet they all somehow weave together perfectly. And do you still have the skulls going up the pole?
Oh yeah, the skull tree.
Skull
Yes.
tree, yes.
Yes, there's more been added onto it. Yeah.
I'm very jealous of those skulls. I have them all over my garden, but yeah, I could always use more. Just saying, if you find
Always.
one somewhere.
Always.
I don't think there's been a person on this ranch that doesn't go and get a picture.
I know, in front of it. Yeah.
We're not the only ones, right?
No.
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 All right. Well, it's been a great time talking to you guys, and some great stories. And once again, Rangewood Reclaimers. Tell us your digits on that. Tell us exactly where to find you again.
The website is rangewoodreclaimers.com.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the Instagram is at Rangewood Reclaimers. And there you go.
You can find us on all the media
All
platforms.
the media platforms, yep.
Okay. All right. Well, great. And Claudia, what can I say? I'm so glad I worked in that crazy industry and met you.
Likewise.
And I'm
yep.
so glad Bob didn't kill Steve. And
So am I.
Blow up his zip code, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I'm still there.
Exactly. All right. Yeah, we're all still standing. All right.
Okay,
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you for being here, guys, and thank you for what you're doing.
Of
Thank
course,
you.
thank you.
We love you and miss you.
Thanks for listening. If you like what you're hearing, please share this with a friend and subscribe where you listen to podcasts. Please support our efforts through Patreon at TheKnifeWife, and for all Terzuola goodness, go to Terzuola.net. And remember, if you're not laughing, you're not living. Comments and questions can be made on Instagram at The KnifeWife Podcast or our Facebook group, The KnifeWife Podcast. And if you're a couple who work together and would like to be on our podcast, tell us about yourself with an email at eccentricsuz.com or terzuola.net.